As you're about to hear right at the beginning of this episode, we have a list of topics that we could talk about. We end up talking about a lot of those. Other things we talk about are the CrossFit.com programming. We talk about the methodology versus the sport of CrossFit. CrossFit's documentaries, are they any good? We talk about leaks in the CrossFit world. We talk about Travis's injury and comeback and so much more. Kind of goes all over the place, but I think you're going to like it.
What am I supposed to just...
You get no topics. He's gonna read them off, and then we're gonna have the freedom to go wherever our brains go.
Here's the the challenge. Well, it's not a challenge. Here's my rebuttal to what you guys chose. I didn't get a choice in any of them. I just walked in, sat down, and we started talking.
Yeah, that's true. So I'll frame it before Chris gives off the list. We wanted to have a podcast without a clear topic. We wanted to have a list of a bunch of topics and then the freedom to go through that as it goes. So he's going to read it off, but Brannen has not contributed.
Do you want me to add anything to the list before we start?
Yeah, you can do it now.
You didn't even give me an opportunity.
Yeah, I did.
Right now.
Yeah, before this, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Walk us through your list, Chris.
All right, so things we could talk about on this episode. The Rogue Qualifier, which Travis, we had an episode where we talked to Travis, but we haven't heard Max's thoughts.
That was a fun episode.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah, go back and listen to it if you haven't anybody out there. The other thing we can talk about is Caden, Max's athlete, Caden, teen athlete. He won the Pitt Teen Throwdown, which is a pretty legit teen competition. We could talk about Madrid, which is coming up, which Noah, Annika, who else?
Linda, Travis.
Linda and Travis will be at. We could talk about Max's return to Instagram and the book project you're working on. We could talk about Brannen's ruck prep because he just did a 12-mile.
Oh, good. Finally something about me. We've all been about Max.
That was mine. I picked that one.
Yeah, he picked that one.
All of those first ones were his.
Let's see. The other ones, we could talk about Jimmy Bufffett passed away, RIP.
I saw that.
Yeah, we could talk about a big name athlete that reached out for coaching with Max. We could talk about Morning Chalk Up's sweet-ass resource page that we just found out about. And we could talk about meal prep and what we think about meal prep.
Well, that is such a topic list. So where do you even start with that?
I don't know. What stuck out to you? What do you want to talk about?
I mean, I was thinking about meal prep because you said you were hungry.
Oh, I mean, if that's...
Did you not eat today?
Well, we had a busy day. Okay. Max already knows this, but for those that are behind the cameras that are listening right now, so we had a meeting this morning with a tech meeting.
This wasn't on the list.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying.
So can we talk about non-list things?
This is a day in the life at Training Think Tank. So we got here, we did that meeting, we sat down afterward and prepared for a TTT Athlete Live, which is always awesome. We have people that come in and ask questions, and me and I answered some. Max was here for 3 minutes.
I came in and did a cameo.
And then we went out there and we did a little training session.
Yeah,
all different things.
Yeah,
Chris was
in rowing.
Yeah, so this is week 2 of the progressions. We started last week where there was a test. So it's a 30-minute EMOM on the odd minutes. So minute 1, 3, 5, whatever. You do 30-second AMRAP of rowing, as many cows as you can get. And then on the even minutes, you have 30-second AMRAP of burpees over the rower. And then you take that average from last week. We added a calorie to it, but it was only 20 minutes this week, and then a 20-minute zone 2 bike after. It was hard.
Yeah. Why are you all doing this progression?
That's broad. That's a broad question. A couple of reasons. One, we want to make sure that we're targeting the things that are testing the sport. So burpees have been in like 13 of the 14 opens. I think it's like 15 total tests because they've been in a couple times. Yeah. So burpees are important. Too. And rowing is, I think it's like 7 or 8. I'd have to look at my sheet. We have all those numbers, and obviously we have a control for that. But basically, both of those things are really important. And then this time of year, for those that have been following our program since March, when the quarterfinals were over, we basically did a lot of like monostructural work. Like we did a rowing progression, we did a biking progression, we did a running progression. And now we're starting to mix things in. And over the next couple of weeks, we'll stick with the EMOMs of rowing and burpees, so we're still targeting those. But like, for example, next week, at the end of it, it'll only be a 15-minute EMOM, and then there's a 15-minute AMRAP. So we're still getting 30 minutes of work, but then it's mixed. So it's like handstand walk, toe to bar, burpee, double unders. And then each week it'll be a little bit more mixed. So it's more CrossFit-esque.
Yeah. Specifically, too, with rowing and burpees, I feel like in CrossFit, there's this infinite number of things that you potentially have to get ready for. And we've been kind of studying it, changing our methods, figuring out what works, adding in new things that we learn from other people or the updated scientific community. But in order to take that complexity and make it practical, I feel like you have anchor movements or anchor things that you have to be good at. And row burpee tests have always been things that have been like, even when I was at OPT in 2011, we had a row kettlebell burpee, kettlebell row, like repeatability tester that we used on a regular basis. And we've had so many of them throughout the years, like, 10 rounds of row and burpees, or EMOMs of like death by row and burpees. So it's just a good, it's a good thing to make sure your general engine is good for CrossFit, and you're pretty likely to see those types of things. If you compete in a year, they're going to come out in something.
For sure.
Well, last week we did our first round, and I beat Brannen on burpee total. So.
You beat him on your first round, not on your totals.
I said first round burpee total.
You said that almost like you beat him in the first week of progression.
I think I made it very clear.
You did credit. I told Max the story. I was like, man, we went out last week, and I heard Chris's rower, and it was like, I was like, dang, dude.
I beat you on the row on the first one too?
Yeah.
You were flying.
Yeah.
You did. You were holding like 2,000 pounds an hour. Yeah.
I have a good Chris story. Chris is like anti-Max training in terms of what he, like how he focuses on things. We did a Metcon. I think it was either throwdown or an open workout where he came out in a clown mask that literally blocked his respiration. Slipknot clown mask, which is basically like a little tiny hole that you can't breathe in. And
he does a whole show in that.
Oh my God.
It really is impressive.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was, like 10-minute workout. And he went out at Mach 10, and like 2 minutes into the workout, he was suffocating and had to stop.
You can see the mask going into his mouth.
It was sucking into his
I think that video is still on. I may have made it unlisted because no one needs to see that.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. And then he did the ruck challenge in his Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do have a tendency to go out hot. And I used to be the same way.
Going out hot. But here's the thing. I'm not trying to, like, I'm not
you're not trying to win it.
Yeah. So I'm just having a good time. So yeah, I want to come out hot. And
You're like, I'm just going to kill myself.
Yeah. Just prove that I have one round in the tank.
Yeah.
Chris and I have been doing a lot of CrossFit together. Yesterday we did Fight Gone Bad, which I haven't done.
We did Fight Gone slightly less bad.
Yeah, we did step ups instead of box jumps, which definitely made it easier.
Overs. Did you write step ups? Because I did step overs.
That still would probably count as Fight Gone Bad.
That's true.
Right?
You just can't get as many reps.
You just get a worse score.
What
would the step ups or step overs?
Well, yeah, step
overs is a little different.
I don't know. Like, do the benchmarks have like pure, clear standards? Like, you have to jump?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. The jump is definitely faster, but your respiration rate just goes
all
way
I could
through.
think was like, man, dude, fuck a fight. A little 1 minute rest.
Yeah, he said, are fights 1 minute rest in between?
5 minute round, 1 minute rest.
That is so brutal.
I've done it to professional, not a full contact. I've done full contact sparring, but we did 2 minute rounds, 1 minute rest for like 4, and then 2 minute round. He needed like 3 minute rest for 4, and that was still hard. Like,
is it worse than a Metcon?
Well, for me, I like blunt force trauma pain better than I like respiration or heart rate pain. So I think for most people, they don't like impact and like pressure putting on them, or those types of things are just more comfortable pains for me.
Right.
So for me, I like that and think it's easier than like, oh my God, I'm at max respiration.
Doing Fight Gone Bad.
But if you combine them and you get redlined in a combat situation and you feel like you're in a fight,
you're screwed, right?
You're basically
but also if
dead.
you get like a huge adrenaline dump and you can't control it, like that's not going to happen in a Metcon very often.
Yeah,
right?
no, you can't really simulate it. Like the training of intervals or the training of CrossFit, it's so predictable, but I think in a real combat situation, it's the unpredictability of what's going to happen. Like, oh, I'm going to get into this situation. If you're doing a Metcon and it starts with 10 deadlifts, that you're picking it up. If you get into a combat situation, is this person going to try to come at you? Are they going to try to make it a slow fight? Are they going to try to play defense? Are they going to try to play offense? So I think it's that mental decision making while you're tired and moving and tight and somebody's grabbing you or hitting you is like one of the skills that makes you good at it. So it makes it less metabolic and more strategic, I think.
Is it true that the better you get, the less metabolic it is? In other words, like the better technique you have, you can kind of like out technique someone that you're in
I think it's just efficiency. That's what I think. Like if you're doing a run and you're improving your running over time, your running economy is getting better. So you're
like that. Did you see that meme of Usain Bolt running next to some dude?
No.
And that one dude's like huffing and puffing, blowing the house down, but he's out in front of him.
Yeah.
And then Usain Bolt comes by just chilling at cruise speed, looking like he just woke up out of bed, but then he passes him.
Yeah. So that idea, I think anytime you refine a skill, like, 10-year, 15-year black belts are probably using less energy. But in a fight, if it gets like elevated into a combative situation, it's going to be hard for anyone.
Okay.
If you're matched up.
Right.
If they're doing it against somebody who's a white belt.
A higher skill level doesn't have to work as hard because the other person doesn't know the skills.
Yeah, if they're low skill or like low attribute, like they're not strong enough or they're
Right.
not fast enough. So there's so many components that make it more complicated to like standardize that information.
I actually am interested. Does it matter how strong you are? I know there's a relative scale, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're fighting, but for you, you're probably stronger than almost everyone.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're as technically gifted as others, right?
I'll speak about this, even though I don't consider myself an expert in martial arts because I've spent so many times in a bunch of disciplines, so I've never really gotten great at any one of them. But
Welcome to CrossFit.
Yeah, basically, I'm like the CrossFitter of martial arts,
So
kind
true,
of.
yeah.
But John Danaher is basically a head of a training camp of one of the best jiu-jitsu schools in the
Right.
world. And he basically said that once you get up to like benching 315 pounds as an example, anything above that doesn't do anything. But if you're way stronger than someone and you bench 315 pounds and they bench 200, that strength advantage is going to be noticeable. Like
Right.
you
Wait,
go to
he
get
said
on.
that, or he said something similar to that in martial arts terms.
He said that for
Oh.
martial arts.
Oh,
Like
okay.
literally,
I'm with you, I'm with
yeah,
you
yeah,
too.
yeah. They still do strength training. I
Right.
don't think it's like.
Well, I was just wondering, so
Yeah.
like if
I
you
wouldn't think
go,
martial artists would be getting up to 315.
You wouldn't
the
think?
bigger guys
the
are
bigger,
super
they're
strong.
big grapplers.
Oh, okay.
That his team is like, I think most of them are over 88 kilos, so that's over 190 pounds.
Yeah,
So
they're strong,
pretty
jacked
big
guys.
humans, and drugs are also like legal and not regulated in jiu-jitsu, so they're
Why didn't
full
you
of
just say so?
testosterone. Yeah.
So at some point though, then there's there's less importance on that, and you just have to continue to refine the skills.
Yeah,
in that.
techniques, fight strategy.
Do you think
There's
that's the
just
same
other
in
things.
CrossFit?
Yeah.
Like, is there a point where strength just doesn't matter anymore, even with all these strength tests that we've seen?
Well, I think Noah's a really good example of this, that his strength peaked. Well, his slow strength is continuing to go up,
Yeah.
but his Olympic lifting strength, which is probably more so related to injuries that have accumulated over the last couple of years, preventing like consistent training. But like, he's still able to be one of the best people in the world in spite of like on any given day, he might snatch 265 or 260. Whereas there's, Travis was in training cycles where he was hitting 290 or 285 on a regular basis. So I think there is this like development curve that's kind of the same in every sport, that once you get a certain level of all the requisite attributes, then it's like mindset, ability to perform, strategy, execution on game day. So I think those skills, it's kind of like the skills you need as a beginner are different than an intermediate, are different than an advanced. And then the elite is like, you went through all those things, you have all the skills, and now it's like untangible things that they have to figure out.
What is Noah doing now? He's doing Madrid.
Yeah,
so
he's
like,
going to Madrid. Yeah.
One of our topics.
Yeah. So Noah doesn't have a clear, Noah has not given me a clear directive as to what's next. He got an invite from Rogue. He's not sure if he's going to do it. He is going to Madrid on a team with Chandler. I think they're in discussions and negotiations about building a team. There's some logistical things that they're working through to figure out how to make it work and if it's going to work. Yeah, a games team. And his goal was to make a games team to go out and win as a team. But I don't know what that means in terms of like what other individual things are. When I was going through this season, I was under the impression that he was retiring from individual competition.
Right.
So I thought it was like, oh, we finished and now we're kind of moving on and phase shifting. And then I got the invite from Rogue and I was like, well, I'm confused. Are we doing this?
So maybe
so
just for the CrossFit Games, but he may do individual stuff later on for
maybe.
Wodapalooza.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely going to need. Noah kind of went into like off-season process and like career mode, and then he's doing this competition. So we haven't had a lot of talks, and like in a normal training phase, we're talking all the time. I'm getting his results every day. When he goes into off-season, like I use it as an opportunity to disconnect as well. Like I kind of get structured and let him do his thing, let him have fun. Most of this stuff for Madrid is the workouts are out and it's teamwork. So I don't write anything right now. but I don't really have an answer as to what he's going to do. I think that's because he doesn't know what he's going to do.
I think he should milk it. I think it should be like my final rogue. my final Wadapalooza.
And then just keep changing
My
it.
final Crash Crucible.
A retirement party at every competition.
I just want to reiterate, I think we said this, maybe this is the last podcast you and I were on, but it really is impressive that Noah kind of went into it. Obviously, he was training really hard and he was focused, but he's like, look, I'm going to have fun with the games. And still, he was like, what, 14th or something?
16th. Yeah.
Like, that is just incredible to me.
I know.
If people realize how hard it is to even get to I know people realize, but when you really evaluate the scores and see how hard it is to get there, and then to get in the top 20 to go through all the cuts, it's there's a lot of talent there for sure.
I mean, talent, and also I think competitive experience to lean on. And like, I think as I'm working with more veterans now, Travis, Noah, people that are like, if you could create a world's best all-time list, I have had the privilege of having a long career side by side with two people that would be on that list.
Yeah.
And you could maybe make an argument for Will being a third because I coached him. Yeah, Will Morad, because I coached him for multiple games.
It was still unbelievable,
and
by
he
the way.
still finished 14th, and he's 34. So I kind of have a close relationship with three of the people that have a lot of longevity who would be on like a world's best list. And I think over time, the thing that separates them maybe more than the physical is how they process and think about the sport. And Noah's, competitive history in the earlier times of his career, I think gave him so much in terms of processing the anxiety, the performance, the knowing for him that it's about satisfying and serving the community and the fans and whatever, and just leaning into what he knows about himself. Whereas I don't think most athletes do that. Like maybe when they're young, it starts as they want to win. And then at some point, if you realize like, well, that dream might not come true, they don't have a good way to process and context. So they eventually like burn out, fizzle, and just leave. They don't have longevity in reshaping their narrative. And I don't know, maybe I was helpful with them in doing that, or just coincidentally, those three athletes have given me like a really good education as to what it takes. And I think a lot of it is just in between the ears.
For sure. They've all done a great job of staying focused on the sport, but also using the sport to leverage other business opportunities. Like I think of Noah, and I think it's another thing to like appreciate of the higher level athletes in the sport as more sponsorships come in, more time management that they have to figure out because they're doing photo shoots or they have to go do this thing for their sponsor and they still have to train. Like, and everyone that's done the sport knows if you want to train for real, like it's a couple hour sessions each day on top of all the other stuff. And doing that well, I think is just really hard, and it leads to burnout. We've seen that with other athletes.
Yeah. Leads into one of our topic lists, so we'll get another one checked off the list.
All right, we're done. We checked them all.
The Instagram and keeping up with the social media Joneses and being able to say like, okay, I'm going to share my ideas out here. If you're going to actually try to put them out on that medium, the content has to be kind of good and it has to be regular, and you have to be putting a lot of time into it, curating that content, reading through your captions, reading through comments, reading through your DMs. It's a lot of time and it's a lot of focus, and in a lot of ways it's a lot of distraction, which is why I turned it off for a period of time. But the best athletes like Noah, Lauren Fisher, or the best athletes that were able to also leverage those platforms learned how to integrate those two things really well. And they learned how to use them really well, and they're really efficient with their time of doing it. Like Noah, it's almost like his whole process of training is also simultaneously curating his public
But I think
brand.
also with Noah, and I don't know for anyone else on that list, Lauren too, those people are actually genuinely interested in doing social media.
They love it.
Whereas you get someone like an Alexis, and she's doing it. She's keeping up and making good for the people who support her, but she's not in love with the process.
Yeah, not in love too.
It's draining. Whereas for Noah, I don't know if it still is for him, but at least at one point it was like energizing to do that.
No, I think it still is energizing. I think he likes. Some people are like showmen. Some people are driven by winning. Like there's that conscious coaching book that puts people in categories. Like there's technicians and there's warriors, and I think some people are very performative as athletes. They want the crowd to roar. They want to have these shining moments. Some people are driven by winning. Some people are more introverted. Some people are extroverted. I think for that, the key is just kind of like know yourself, like
Yeah.
figure out how you operate, how you tick, and how you want to build your career.
At what point do you think that will shift, though, where athletes do not have to worry about the leveraging the social media space? In other words, all the other major sports, obviously there's a different ball game. They're making
TV deals. That's your answer.
Yeah, I mean, but they're making huge money on the field. So like Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to worry about his Instagram. If he wants to do it, he can, but he's not spending time on it. Whereas I think CrossFitters, like, they legitimately have to be able to make money.
Yeah.
So you're saying once
you
there's
gotta have
big
that TV
deals,
money or some sort of streaming money, where then they're getting the athletes are getting paid that way. But right now, it's like you're only getting sponsor money.
Yeah, because also too, if you have TV deals, like I think about those Netflix documentaries on F1 that people reference would be good for CrossFit, which I agree. I think it'd be really cool, and there's a lot of different cool angles you could go, like affiliates versus other affiliates, teams. Like I think there's cool things you can do in that space, but the creation of those shows almost creates media for them. So it builds their personal brand. They get shorts from it.
Those shows, are they, I've brought this up before, but those kinds of shows like the F1 and there's one on Tour de France and there's tennis and golf, are those made by the governing body of the sport, or are they outside parties coming in and documenting?
I think it's outside parties who are making it in conjunction and partnership with the main groups.
Okay.
I don't know the business infrastructure.
My one critique is that that you got to be able to, it can't just be propaganda.
Yeah.
You got to be able to shit on, like, for instance, we're not going to get a CrossFit Games documentary this year. Let's say there was a big, judging mishaps, or like a big fuck up,
or a workout that really didn't pan out the way you wanted.
That documentary is not going to say anything about that, but that's the kind of stuff we need to have,
to
like,
be in
real
a story.
true drama.
Yeah, for sure. To make it, Yeah. I mean, that's another, I don't know if it's happening. I know there's a move for the whole system to become more professionalized. It seems like Don Fall as the CEO is moving in that direction. PFAA organizing is moving in that direction. If it happens, I don't think it's in the best interest of the whole sport for CrossFit to be the media entity to do it and view it. And I think that's already happening. Like, you saw that most of the media in the back end was Buttery Bros, which is an external company now. Mayhem, Proven, Hard Work Pays Off, all external companies. Craig Ritchie, external company. Sevon, external company. So it's already going there, I'm guessing. But I think it needs to happen to make a cool documentary. And maybe also,
but
like,
even
the
then,
golf
like,
one.
are those guys going to say, is it going to be propaganda, or are there going to be some, like,
it's still so small that they're all
some of those guys, like,
like, there's still nepotism.
Well, if I'm putting myself in, like, the Buttery Bros shoes, it's like, well, I want to have a job here next year, so I'm not going to step on any toes. And so it's not even like a bad thing. It's just like,
well,
you're never going to get that side. I don't
true
think.
For the training camps. Everyone's very careful about how they critique and if they critique, because they want their athletes to have, some access. And that makes sense too. Like, if you want to be in the back, maybe you see some things. You see, there's sandbags in a couple workouts because I see them laying there. Like, that's helpful, and you want to be able to have that access.
Yeah.
Is that a negative?
No. I mean, I get what you're saying. It makes sense to have a competitive advantage. I feel like if somebody offered me a competitive advantage in that scenario, I wouldn't feel super good about it. Like, it doesn't seem like it's earned. Like, you want to get your competitive advantage because the playing field is level and you did something to earn that competitive advantage. Maybe you had better genetics or better training or better approach. But if it's literally just like, well, it's nepotism, like, you're bringing more fans in, so here's your competitive advantage, I just don't like that.
And they're never going to see it that way.
Yes, I know, but that's how I see it, maybe from the outside. Maybe that's judgmental and you need to chop it out. But that's
I mean, it is what it is. If it was us, it would be the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think it would, though? Because I feel like I've gotten information in the past that I've, like, felt guilty about getting or not shared with people.
Well, that's why I think, should we just finally make, I told Hiller this, the community as a whole needs to come together and make an account called Leaky Larry or something. It's like a little sock puppet.
Who's this guy?
It's a little sock puppet guy. And it's an account where you could send in any leaks
anonymous leaks about
shit
for instance,
that's happening. If TTT, we got access to one, we'd send it over, say, hey, here's what we heard.
Yeah.
give it to everybody so that proven everybody gets it.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. But then the problem with something like that is then people would send in fake leaks.
Fake news.
Fake news. We got fake leaks.
Leaky Larry's got fake leaks.
Leaky Larry's not verified.
Oh, man.
Oh, shit.
Someone should still do it, though.
Yeah.
All
That would
right.
be fun.
We're going to wrap that one up.
Yeah.
So
we might delete that out.
Travis is also doing Madrid, and I want to talk about that in the workouts in a second, but Rogue was his first competition back since, well, I guess, was it last Wadapalooza? That was the last one that he did.
He did Wadapalooza as a team. The last individual thing that he did was Rogue Qualifier of last year.
Right.
So it'd been
a year ago, basically.
A year since he's done any online qualifier, anything super serious as an individual.
Yeah. So we heard from him, and he talked about that process. We talked a little bit about
What were the
his
key
hand.
highlights? Give me like...
And as a teaser, we have a whole, I followed the whole weekend, and we have a series that will come out, in a week or two that documents the whole process.
Do you have anything on the ruck in that?
Yeah.
He
we're gonna have
does.
something about the ruck in there, too.
He does, yeah.
And the third R. It's going to be Rogue, Ruck, and one more R word.
Oh, baby.
So
I know
three
what
things.
Can I say it or no?
is.
Huh?
I know
Can I
what
say it or no?
No, let's make it a
Okay.
surprise.
Okay. A surprise. I thought you were going to say Sopranos for a second.
Yeah, I thought so, too.
It sounded like that, didn't it? So he talked a little bit about just like the process of how frustrating it was, but at the same time understanding that it's back to the drawing board, coming up with a game plan. A little bit about how he played golf a lot during that offseason.
definitely did. Yeah, I know.
I think it was needed though.
Yeah.
Like he's been training so hard for so long. It's probably good for him to decompress and then come back. And the fire that he's had has been extremely high, and I think he looks as good as ever. So I wanted your feedback, being his coach and kind of going through the process of. I know you were very this is like inside look, so you probably won't say this. Max was very concerned that at some point in the offseason, and I saw or heard some of those conversations where you're like, all right, we need to get serious again. Travis dialed that in, and he looks the same as he did when he just, 4 years ago when he was at the top of the world.
Yeah. I would say that his fitness is as good as it's ever been or close, but he's definitely been more fit. And that's not a shitting on him. Like, he has crushed it for the last 5 months, but 5 months ago, I was like, he's done. There's no way he's going to compete. He has no fire, consistency.
Because of the hand injury?
Yeah, the hand injury. Like, it really...
To be fair, though, he could not do anything on that hand. He could not put, if he put his hand on the table, it caused extreme pain. And the doctor said, don't touch it.
Yeah, so, I'm not saying it like Travis is mentally weak or whatever. He just, he never had an injury or a real injury. We've definitely worked through a lot of aches and pains and niggles and sprains, and I don't think you can be good at this sport and not have had anything to work through physically. But this was the first time where it was you couldn't do anything. We couldn't do push-ups. We couldn't do burpees. You couldn't do ring rows. His muscle mass in his upper body atrophied so fast.
He already doesn't have much.
And he's not huge and jacked upper body wise. He's older. And I just was my logical brain, Travis has proven me wrong so many times because my logical brain was don't have kids. This sport is not lucrative enough and you're not going to be able to take care of them and commit yourself. Once you have a kid, it's going to be over. He has 4 kids and he's still competitive at the highest level. So each time he does it, he kind of proves me wrong. And I had a talk with him in that process about thinking is this the time for us to make a shift? And I think it was a really tough process for him to introspect and figure out where his value systems were, how he wanted to go out, if he thought he could still compete at the highest level. And I have more doubt in the process than he has because he knows himself, he knows what he's done. So I was wondering if we were going to get back to an elite level. We had the run a 5-minute mile, 500-pound back squat where we were running progressions to keep his fitness kind of up. And he was crushing it. He's lifting heavy-ass weights. He's running really fast. I know he's still the fittest in the world in certain capacities, but he hadn't had a barbell over his head in so long. He hadn't done a bar muscle up. And then he sets his schedule, and he's like, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to fucking crush it this year. And I'm like, all right. And he had, I think, 12 weeks when we really sat down and mapped out a training structure to get ready for Rogue Qualifier. And we started doing his snatch progressions with 45 pounds.
Yeah.
45 pounds. 300-pound snatcher, 45 pounds. This is a little bit of pressure on my hand. Next week, 65, 75, 135. We're 8 weeks out. Now we got to start ramping it up. And to watch that development process and see how fast he got back into a world-class state was amazing. I was like, holy shit, he's really about to do this.
It happens fast.
Yeah. So then we go and we get into Rogue and I have no expectations. I'm like, like you got ready really quick and you had been kind of chilling for a while, just letting your body heal. And now you're going against the best field in the world. And most of the people in that, well, minus the 15 athletes that already had qualifying, but it's a huge prize purse. So everybody that was on the cut line of that top 15 wanted to get into that competition. So I just didn't know how it would go. And he just, as Travis does sometimes when his back up is up against the wall, he, I don't know, he just made me really proud of the journey. I'm like, this is a hard thing that we navigated to get back to this point. And he proved to himself and he proved to me, and I get to enjoy that kind of ride with him. And I take a little bit of pleasure and joy in poking at him and talking shit still. So it was pretty cool. I was just, I'm shocked at how much volume he can handle. He repeated the whole thing. He did double rogue.
Here's my question for you. Travis told the story of the last workout with like 45 minutes left going in and doing the dumbbell devil's press and legless rope climb workout. And he said that he texted you like an hour before, but you were, I think, at like a jiu-jitsu class or something. So, it's a Sunday. You're not thinking, or was
it was a Monday.
Monday night.
We had this full conversation because he had repeated 3 workouts, and he's like, I'm done. He did 2 workouts on Monday. So he had already done 2 workouts. He already repeated 1 the day before. I'm like, all right, he's good. Like, he's done. He doesn't think he can get better at the last one. We'll just watch the leaderboard and see what happens.
So he texts you, and obviously you're doing your class. You don't see it.
Yeah.
When you got back to your phone, did you what time was it, and did you respond to them right away?
It was like 7:04, and I opened my phone, and it's a bunch of text messages and missed calls. And if Travis is miscalling me, I'm like, there's an emergency. He got rejected, something. I called him up, and I could hear in his breathing. He's like, I'm at the gym. I'm going right now. I was like, all right, well, I couldn't make it there on time. Do it. Let me know how it goes. And then, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later, he texts me just like 10:03, a full minute faster. I'm in the top spot on that workout. Let's fucking go, or something like that.
And that workout got him in because he would have probably finished 6th or 7th instead of, I think, 4th is where he's at now. So that's, I don't think most people could repeat and get better at all of them, especially in a day period. But to your point, like the volume, the resilience that he has is very high.
It's one of his biggest skills as an athlete. Because I coach Noah, who has probably more higher level execution performance at the games in terms of like career, but he cannot sustain the same level and intensity and duration of training as Travis can on a regular basis. Like, Travis's gift is almost that he is a workhorse. So if he keeps doing more and more and more, he keeps getting better. He gets more refined. He figures out the skill, but not every elite CrossFitter is like that. I mean, Alexis leading into the games, she's doing a ton of training, and she's freaking doing crazy progressions that would probably kill most people. But in the spectrum of people that do high volume CrossFit, low volume CrossFit, she's probably just somewhere in the middle. She does a little bit lower volume in the off season. She peaks at the right time. She's not like a high volume driven athlete.
What would you say then to the average athlete when they're trying to figure out their volume? Because like, you do any group program, including ours, there are different options for most people, right? Like, you could do what some people call the pro path or the elite path or the RX plus. And a lot of times that will have a ton of volume, but then there are other options. Maybe it's just like their regular RX or like their 60-minute.
Yeah.
What recommendations would you give someone when they're trying to fit into the right program so that they're getting enough, they feel like they're getting enough, and they're actually making progress without overtraining?
I feel like it needs to be a very honest discussion with somebody who has some level of expertise to evaluate all of the outside life variables that dictate how much volume people can handle.
Yeah.
Because most people, even if they don't have the lifestyle to set up like Travis, even if they're super volume tolerant, if they're not sleeping well and they're not eating right and they're stressed out at work, they're going to break. Not because they're not volume tolerant, because the lifestyle doesn't support what they're trying to do. So I think people need to evaluate first, like, what are you set up for success to be able to handle at the most? And then I think right now, maybe this is like a recency bias, but I'd say start conservative always.
Yes.
Like, get into something where you feel like you can build 2 or 3 weeks of momentum. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I make, especially with CrossFit, because if I decondition it, like, week 1 is almost like survival. Like, I'm getting so sore that I can't walk down the stairs. And I think that is actually, it's like detrimental to building consistency, because I have recently hired Mike and Adam and Frank to kind of help me with accountability with my own training. And they're like, the biggest goal is just feeling like we're getting through the weeks and checking them off and like building consistency. And doing that for a month, you start to realize like, oh man, I'm in so much better shape than I was a month ago. I'm not getting sore from these workouts. I'm getting excited to go into the gym. And the consistency is what breeds success. Most people that want to be athletes just never get to the consistency. And it's like the biggest, most obvious secret is right there hiding in plain sight. It's like, oh, you know why you're not good? It's because you just haven't consistently been doing this.
It's like the snowball effect, right? Like let it roll and get a little bit bigger every single week. And then you finally feel consistent where you can push yourself.
And then you can add volume, right? Totally. Like if you go the other way and you like burn it out, you burn the candle from both ends, there's a huge recovery process because your body is going to shut you down. Like I sprained my ankle and it took me 5 months to get back. I don't know, maybe it's my age or the stress of my life or my size or whatever. But the goal is to not have, if you want your fitness continuously rising, you got to try to avoid those 5 month long setbacks. Because then it's like, all right, well, I'm starting back over again.
But it may not even be the 5 months. I see this a lot in different programs or even with individual clients. It could just be the only 2 days of consistent training per week because you're already burnt out by a Wednesday and everything. So it's just like making sure that you're listening to your body and then making sure you're fitting into the right program. Yeah. And if you are with a good group program that has options, you could do that or obviously reach out to a coach. I brought that up because I think that's the thing that most people fail at is they get so excited. I do the same thing when I start training again and this CrossFit workout looks fun. I'm going to go do it. Yeah. But then to your point, for 3 days, I'm sore and I can't do anything else. So now I'm modifying all the other stuff that I had. Like I want to do this strength training session today. I can't do the back squats because my legs are so sore.
Or you have rowing progressions and your legs are so beat up that you're like, I can't put out power. Like my max pull is too slow. So I think it's really a process. The number one way to do it is to have a one-on-one coach that has experience that slowly guides you through the process. That's not realistic or financially feasible for most people. So I think the next best route is to just learn about yourself and trying to develop a combination of like emotional and biological honesty, right? Like some people are built different. They're bigger, stronger, faster, better joints. Their movement quality is better. They can digest more food. So you got to kind of figure out where you fit in that realm and then maximize and leverage on it and just like slowly build it up.
Yeah. So jumping back to Rogue, since we're talking about Travis, what did you think about the setup this year, the standards, the way that they had the athletes weigh the plates? Like, do you think that is sustainable long-term for qualifiers?
Well, first of all, it's a huge step in the right direction in terms of professionalism. Because
for people who don't know, there was what was different about it?
So you get a full detailed list of video standards, video submission, movement standards of each movement, flow of the workout, a floor plan, and then you had to video filming all of the weights on a digital scale when you were doing the workouts and all the distances and all of that stuff before you did the workouts. So I think the major change is really the weighing of the digital plates.
Right.
And the standards were a little more thorough.
Yeah, the standards are a little more thorough. Yeah, they were. That being said, I don't think it's a sustainable model to do. And I also think some of it's kind of, I don't know, it's like they're rogue plates in established gyms. And a lot of these people are the best people in the world. I don't think people are going in and drilling out like areas to do it. So I think if there could be a way maybe to have approved locations or something like that where people could go, and then you still maybe have to show everything, but those processes are like 15 minutes to get everything right. And what I didn't like this year is, first of all, they came out a little bit late, and in and of itself, that's not that much of an issue. But when you're on time pressure and then they come out late and then there's redundancies or contradictions in the rules, we don't know how to act. So there were times where, for example, the line from the wall to the handstand push-up line said that you had to be 10 inches to the outside of the tape line. Then you look at the picture and the 10-inch is to the inside of the tape line, which is a major difference. And this is a major competition that's driving the revenue of some athletes, like whole years is focused around this thing. So I feel like if these types of things could come out early enough that there's always going to be human error. Like if they put freaking
Totally.
10 MIT geniuses on making those sheets of paper, somebody's going to misspell something or there's going to be something, whatever. But I feel like if we could get them a little bit earlier and then have a period of time to clarify, ask questions, point out redundancies, have some sort of main point of contact or some main group area Slack channel where we could ask questions, pin the best questions to the top, revise and change the rules and repost but that, I don't know if the infrastructure is there and ready to go there, but I think something like that, I think would need to happen if you're going to have the online competitions. I honestly think one of the things that could help this sport over time is just trying to figure out how do we get rid of the online competition itself.
Do people even like that step at the high level?
I don't think so. I don't think people like doing it. Or if they're going to be
what's the alternative?
Well,
Yeah,
I think
how do
you
you
could still
choose
have
athletes?
online competitions, but you can just do them in boxes, right? Like you could just say, hey, these are our preferred affiliates. These are the people that have paid registration and they have, you know, we sent somebody out. And like, if we went out and we filmed all of our stuff as one thing, like for quarterfinals, we filmed our rope and we filmed it one time and we had hey, here's TTT's gym, like, validation video.
Oh,
that would save so much.
Everybody who then comes through here,
Yeah,
they
Ashley,
don't have to film it all.
Yeah,
It's all been filmed
yeah,
because
it's like-
we're a recommended.
Yeah,
gym,
because
whatever.
we already did it. Like we set up our
Could you
lane, we
trust
measured
every-
it.
Rogue
affiliate?
certified.
I don't think you could trust every affiliate, but I think you could start to build a trusted network of people to
Yeah.
do that, right?
Yeah.
And if like for us, how many people did we have doing quarterfinals last year?
A lot.
50?
2 million.
50.
Yeah, it felt like 3 million.
So how much time was spent filming each person do the workouts in the same lanes? I'm like, we could have literally just filmed one video setup, or like the ones where the standards are an individual, like you have to do a handstand push-up standard and draw the line.
I think-
like that's all you got to film, put it down, 3, 2, 1, go. Inside of a box, we would save hours of time and hours of logistic
I don't
time.
think they think about gyms like us who have lots of people, because we probably are the anomaly. Most people probably are, a couple people at best, but
not
for
in
us-
the road qualifier. I don't think we're the anomaly, because the people in the road qualifiers are people from Mayhem, people from Training Plan, people from Invictus, people like it
I'm
literally
saying having
is
high volumes of people.
But
do
they
it.
do. I'm saying for road.
You think a lot of people did
or
road
quarterfinals
for a 5 placing thing?
Yeah, I don't know if Invictus had Invictus had like at least five people that I saw on their roster on the leaderboard,
Right.
from their team or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the acknowledgement just needs to be, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
They did a good job, but there are always going to be issues. And
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, how do we continue to refine this year over year to make it really good?
Yeah, I want to be clear. I doubt they ever listen, but if like the Rogue people who did it, I want to make it really clear. I'm not shitting on the Rogue qualifier, and it's very clear that Rogue's level of professionalism in every aspect of
Good.
their business, including this competition, is good. But I also will just be honest that our whole sport, if it's going to continue to be a sport and you're going to try to have some sort of level of understanding and professionalism, we just it needs to be pushed forward continuously, because I don't think it's good enough to do that.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to implement for people.
Yeah. I know we've talked about that over and over again, but I just don't know. I have run this through my brain, and maybe it's just too small, like this pea-sized brain I have. I don't know what the solution is if you're going to have qualifiers that are remote. Like that's just the nature of it.
and maybe part of it is just accepting that that's
Yeah.
okay, we know
we
that the
need 'em, though?
qualifier's not perfect. Well, you would there, or you would need a new system for sorting people. Like if you wanted to do Rogue and you wanted to be in person and it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, like Thursday is a cut day for like everybody
That
not
would suck
qualified.
for the people that had to do it.
yeah.
Extra workouts for you.
Yeah, for sure.
It definitely makes it tough. So
Yeah.
Madrid's coming up. You have quite a few athletes. Can you name them again? So
Yeah, Annika, Linda, Travis, Noah.
okay, and
We already talked about Noah.
Right.
Travis. Well, Travis is pretty impressive that he did the road qualifiers like 2 weeks out from Madrid, which was probably good training. 2 days off, test workouts and test intervals of workouts, 1 day off, come to the gym, fly to Madrid. So
Did he communicate to you like what the goal is? Is he trying to win, or is he just happy with being top 5? Like where's he at?
I mean, he said he wants to win.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I know that I looked at the field. It's possible. The workouts with the structure that they are, it's possible. But I also know with competition, like a lot of people are good. And it's like, how do you execute on game day? How do you deal with the travel? How do you deal with the first work?
Right.
Like all of that stuff is going to dictate the winner and the loser. But from a preparation standpoint, it really couldn't have gone any better, because I think Rogue was a good physical challenge and also a good mental reminder that he's still one of the best in the world. And then we got a lot of good prep of the Madrid workouts, but we did it intelligently with low volume, so he felt good before he left. And for me, that's like, for me, I feel like I already won.
Right.
Like, I'm like, all right, well,
Big
that's the hardest thing that we could have done, and we did it.
It would have been interesting if he did poorly in Rogue, how that would impact going into Madrid. Like, it's just the psychology there, but obviously he crushed it. I think that he's
I don't
on a
know.
high.
Travis, I can't predict, though, because maybe
That's
if
true.
he did bad,
Fires
he
him
would
up.
be angry and dude,
It's like, I got to prove it.
Yeah.
What about the team? Did you track any of the team workouts? So for Noah and no,
I
let
didn't.
them kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, I feel like they're so seasoned and veteran
Yeah, I
and
feel like it's a good
opinionated that I would waste my time if I did that.
Opinionated.
Yeah.
Why'd McG go out there?
For me.
Oh,
Yeah, McG went out. I sent Mike basically because this kind of ties into the Instagram and taking a break and whatever, but I've realized over time that my creative mind and approach to life is very scattered, which is good in a lot of ways, because I think it makes me learn a lot of new things, makes me connect to a lot of new people, but it also means that I get spread thin a lot. And I had other priorities that I thought were more important, and I'd already kind of been burnt out from travel. I went to Ireland, I went to Berlin, I went to Orlando, I went to the games, and for me to like run the business and try to stay healthy myself, I was like, I need an off season. Like, I can't be somebody that's going to be traveling 12 months of the year and trying to work on the road and be in Madrid setting up business calls on US time zones. So I'm leveraging the people that I trust, and Mike said he was going to go out and coach for me.
nice.
So what is this Instagram thing? You guys put it on the list.
Yeah,
I have no idea what you want to talk about.
I mean, I took a break from Instagram. I just was getting so
How
over.
long?
I don't know when I turned it off. Maybe sometime around
But you were still on it. You just weren't posting.
Yeah, I wasn't posting. I actually wasn't posting on stories. I probably took like a 3-month like full break where I just like it was off, and then I kind of got back on, and then I was using it to track. I realized that I couldn't really get information about the sport without being on it. Like, that's where announcements came out, that Castro's posting stuff, CrossFit Games. So I had this idea in my head where I was like, I'm not going to watch this right now. This is distracting. And then people were like, hey, did you see this? I'm like, where'd you see it? And they sent me Instagram, and I'm like, all right, this is like, it's completely ridiculous for me to be in this space and not be on it in some capacity.
If you want to quit Instagram, you could do it, but it's not quite the same because everyone else still, the whole world would need to quit for you to have the.
Well, also, or I'd need to step out of the CrossFit space, because I think there's
whatever space you're going to, it's going to have the
Really?
same.
They're all
I
Instagrammy?
mean, maybe not.
Yeah. All right. Well, and
the business space, no.
not as much.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's more Twitter X for like the VCs and all
Yeah,
those like
yeah,
high
yeah.
level guys there.
Yeah.
Well, social media, you're going to have to be on
social
Yeah.
media, yeah, in general. So I got back on, and I was really just thinking, like, how do I use this productively? Because it was kind of becoming like I was just musing. Like, something would happen in my day, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm just going to share it. Like a diary, kind of. And I don't like to do things without some sense of purpose or tie into my goals. So I just took a break from it and tried to figure out, okay, well, moving forward with the business goals and with education and with my own training, how can I build sustainable systems that keep me healthy? Because I can't like go out and do my training by myself every time, go up, set my camera up, film each thing, then expect that I'm going to have an hour at the end of the day to go home and curate that into something. So I knew I needed help with the structure of how to do it. So I just kind of slowly worked on through the season a plan for how I was going to rebalance my life in the off season. And I worked with Frank on it. I had you kind of review some of the initial videos and initial concepts, and your insistence was like, hey, if you're going to do it, just kind of start.
You as in Chris.
Chris, yeah, I'm pointing to Chris.
Not me.
Yeah.
You don't
I'm not doing them.
I mean, well, Chris has built.
Frank's doing them.
Yeah, well, Chris has built my entire. I mean, John started the Training Think Tank Instagram channel. Prior to that, I wasn't really on Instagram at all.
Right.
Chris kind of built, when he took over the YouTube, he kind of built my social media presence by having
2017 and on.
Yeah, 2017 and on, through the Training Think Tank social media branding. And then what I was doing with my own one was kind of just like taking whatever was relevant, plugging it in. Then I started using it a little bit more. I got up to like, it was like just under 10,000 followers. And I'm like, is this like a waste of my time? Like, I'm not good at this stuff. And Chris is already doing it for the main thing. I have ideas I want to share that are outside of CrossFit, but is there people that want to listen to it? So I was just so uncertain with how to do it. So I got with Frank and I basically kind of came up with like, here's what I think I could do to add value to people's life. It ties into what I ultimately want to release in the book information that I put together, which is a way bigger project than I originally thought that it was going to be, and the education that we're building for TTT. So it was kind of like I needed a better plan to make sure I wasn't wasting my time. And I just posted my first reel, which is why he said the Instagram thing. That came out like yesterday.
What's the impetus to do it then? Like, dive deeper into like, oh, I just wanted to get back on for business, but like, are there certain things that you're wanting to share with your audience, or is it more just tied directly to business?
Well, I think it's tied towards what the mission and purpose of Training Think Tank's business has always been. Because I consider myself kind of a businessman because I run a business and I think about economics and making sure that we can be a viable business to keep doing what we're doing. But really the heart of the business was my idealism to try to improve the sport and fitness culture. I didn't think athletes, especially in early CrossFit, got treated well because I don't think most people knew, right? Like no one knew what we were doing, and it was crazy high level, high skill things that people were doing to failure. And I was watching a lot of people from an empirical perspective get injured, get burned out, ruin their hormones. And I really wanted to fix that, which was the impetus of like the one-on-one coaching side of our brand. I really wanted to professionalize coaching. Again, in early CrossFit, it was like, from what I saw, people wanted a cheap way to be able to open and fund a gym. And you couldn't, back then, like it was, okay, got to go work at Lifetime Fitness or got to go work at Gold's Gym or something like that. So CrossFit opened up the economy of people that were entrepreneurial minded to get into this. But I saw them as recreationalists. Like they were accountants that liked to train. They were not coaches that wanted to help people at a high level.
Most everybody in those early days had a real job, and then that was their little side hustle.
Yeah. So professionalizing coaching was another thing. And then the third was just like, I think that the information age has, I'll try not to be too cynical, but I think the information age has made, even though information about health and sport is accessible at a grand scale, and if you're really good at sifting through research and sifting through the information to figure out what works for you, I think you can find everything you need to become an expert and be great. But I think from a mass consumption standpoint, the marketing lies of taking influential looking people and putting products on them drives what people think is good information. So I wanted to have a platform to share information that I thought sifted through the bullshit of the industry. And those three things really just governed my like business. So that mission, I feel like just extended to my social media. And I think those things that I'd like to share, or why I like to share, is because first of all, Instagram helps me create memories. If I have to take pictures and have to write down my thoughts, it's almost like a diary for me to go back and look at my life. It's like a highlight reel and a reminder of where I've come and where I've gone. So I like that as a medium. And then there are things that don't really tie to our current business that I want to talk about. Like, I think some of the reason why TTT is successful is because I have gone through this journey of trying to figure out how to maintain the idealism and the culture first before worrying about the money first, and going through my own kind of journey of mental health and discovery and challenging some of the abusive narratives that I had in my head or the violence that I grew up in. I think they're important stories for people. Like, it's a minority group of people because, I mean, mostly in the CrossFit space, people are a little bit higher income because it costs a lot of money to come from CrossFit. And I don't know for sure, like, what percentage of people come from, like, you know, better, more healthy environments, but it's a pretty extreme fitness thing for people to jump into. So I think that there are people out there that may have some of the pathologies that I've worked through and created tools for. And I wish when I was younger, I had better mentors, role models, people talking about it, but it's just not popular. And it's hard. Like even that first post I put up, it talked about me going through my own mental health. And I remember watching it and really getting like last minute, like jump fear. Like, do I need to post this? Like, should I just be a freaking fitness expert and talk about squats and deadlifts? Like, do I need to share and be vulnerable and open myself up to criticism of people who don't understand where I came from or what I do or have different thoughts about different things? And that I think is the reason why people don't do it. Right. So I kind of got the courage to just be like, well, fuck it. Somebody's out there that this might help. So let me try and see if it works and see if it helps create a better approach to fitness for some people and a less self-abusive thing. And then if it helps, then it will give me the concrete data to say this is important to keep doing. And if it doesn't, and people are like, just shut up, talk about thrusters, then it's like, okay, whatever. I can just go, I'll go back to training things and get back out of this shit.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. Social media in general has been such a net positive, but there are also like so many downsides. And so it's just always finding the positive in that. And then being, a good for the world as opposed to it being, there are like two different types of people that are huge on social media. It's the person that's only posting like, look at my life, I'm making all the money, I have the best things, blah, blah, blah. Or the victim culture that's now happened where it's like everything is bad and I'm going to show you all these terrible things.
There's a third way.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm saying there's a third way.
What's that?
Which is just ass.
Well, yeah. That's the left side of the screen here. That is true. But Max
he got distracted.
That's why I'm doing all these.
I can't do that.
That's why I'm trying to do all these.
It's like I'm scrolling through, Max.
I actually did want to make like joke content of me getting side by sides of female influencers and then doing the same photos, but I was like, it would be disturbing for people, but it would make me laugh really creating the content.
It would be funny.
Yeah.
But yes, it's nice to have, or refreshing to have, people that are in the middle, because that's where everyone is. Like most people's lives aren't really great on one day or just terrible. It's like we're mostly living in the middle, and it's just trying to find the best way forward.
I think if you do that, though, like one of the things that I accepted in the process is that I think I do a lot of things to win or be competitive. Yeah. And in that realm, it's like I don't want to do the things that would make me competitive to be popular. Like even little things. Like I know that my style is weird. I wear the same shorts and t-shirts every day. I got these freaking sandals on. I'm always barefoot.
You and Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have those stupid things on.
Yeah. I
wear high quality Crocs, baby.
Yeah. I wear zero shoes like instead of the branded stuff. I think all of those things, or like displaying masculinity at its highest level, dominance, or talking like I got it all figured out, would make me more likely to climb the charts in terms of popularity on that platform. But if I'm like, well, that's not me and that's not how I want to go about it, I just have to understand that I'm playing the game differently. And like Chris said about the working out, I'm not in it to win it. I'm in it to like find my niche, find my people, figure out where I can help, figure out if it's the best use of my time, figure out if people read the captions in full, and basically try to connect to the people that I already know are connected. Because I got a lot of comments about it, and a lot of right before when I started getting the hesitation, like, do I really want to do this? Like I was in planning for a month, and then or really longer than a month. And then right at the finish line, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just focus on the TTT one and not even do this. But I went on my story and I posted like, what type of content do you want to see with me? I'm hoping to make a comeback. And the first one was like my personal journey, mental health, anxiety, depression. The next one was just CrossFit training. The next one was coaching. And the last one was like a TTT brand story. And it was, most people picked the CrossFit training one, which makes sense because that's what I do for a living. But there were a lot of people that clicked both the professionalizing coaching and the mental health thing. And then a very high number of people that was like all of the above that sent me a DM separately. And it kind of just gave me the courage to be like, all right, well, there's already people out here that want to hear this stuff. So I'm going to feel less like self-judgment I'm just not a real spotlight guy. Like I like to win. I like to push, but I don't like, we had the whole no wizards thing as a, like one of the early things I do is I don't really want to be put up on a pedestal.
Video series I put out that was just your talks from a camp in 2018.
Yeah, something like that.
If you go to our YouTubes and type no wizards, you'll find it.
I probably would have articulated it differently now, but my thought was I didn't want to be put up on a pedestal as this amazing, all-knowing guru type thing. But that's the persona that succeeds on social media platforms. And so I was encouraging people in those earlier days as I was coming up, like, I know a lot about training, but I don't have the answers for you. Like, you got to figure your shit out. You got to figure out how your emotions are and why you do this and what your purpose is and how much you can handle and if you love it and who you want to do it with. And that process that I've went through for myself, I was like, maybe this can be valuable for people. Maybe it could help people. Maybe I could use this platform that in some ways I look at and I'm like, this is just so, like, I don't know, I get like bleh about it sometimes, that maybe I could be the change that makes me feel better about it. Like, oh, this is helping me build my business and build my culture and connect to people that are struggling and encourage somebody that's struggling to take the next steps and go get therapy or, you know, try to make themselves better or challenge the relationship that they have with training. And so that was the comeback to social media.
I hope you only just do that one post.
And that's it. That's it.
I got tired, guys.
I mean, he likes to come out hot, so do I.
Yeah.
One big post and I'm done.
I mean, I did a cumulative 4 years off Instagram.
Yeah.
And I came back on sometime in July.
Yeah, you started.
July. Because something Alexis said to me. She wouldn't even remember saying it.
Alexis?
Yeah, she said something to me one day, and I was like, you know what? Hold on, let me turn this camera back on.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
She said something, and I was like, okay, fuck it. You know what? I'm going to try getting back on there. And I already want to get back off.
What did she say?
Probably will.
What'd she say? I want to know.
I don't. Basically, I was just shitting on it, and she just said something that was like, you should just do it, or I don't remember the content. It was basically like
you got peer pressured into it.
It was basically like something like you're making it a bigger deal than it is. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I am, you know, thinking just how much I have no care for it. Yeah. But no, it's confirmed. I've been back on. Like I'm not in love with it. I could easily go off of it. What I can't quit is YouTube. I'm addicted to some fucking YouTube.
YouTube is dangerous.
But social media, I'm already over it. I'll delete it whenever I want.
So whatever I want.
Do it.
I'll do it right now.
I'll fucking do it right now.
He's gonna post something later today.
So seriously, I can do it whenever I want.
You've been posting all your Metcons, man.
Yeah.
Doing CrossFit workouts every day.
I actually do like trying to be creative. I'm not visual, so that's what makes Instagram really hard for me. But like that first post I had the ideas of like fake shaving my chest and doing the Dikembe Mutombo thing, and I wrote the speech and I gave Frank the images and I said, here's kind of what I'm thinking. And I enjoy that process of trying to think, how do I make something quasi entertaining but structure it into education and purpose and something that's just meaningful, as opposed to me like being a clown. So like the intellectual creativity and the physical creativity of trying to like do something fun, the actual back end of making the video I can't do. So it feels like I'm almost like stuck.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I'm like the creativity that I'm going to put in. And speaking of TTT, not mine, because my shit's just dirty and quick. I'm not putting any thought to it.
Chris's shit is dirty.
Go look at my last post. Looking like a fucking 1995
that should be
camera
our next
phone.
shirt. If in the comments, if you want us to get a shirt that says my shit's just dirty and quick.
I see. I missed it. But like TTT, putting any creativity to it, I'm the opposite. I'm like, these people are going to be just taking a dump or in the line at the grocery store. I don't want to put an ounce of thought into this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
people are taking dookies, watching my videos.
Yeah, you're gonna pick a song. You're gonna pick a song, and they're not even gonna turn the audio on.
Yeah, that's
it's fair. Like, okay, well, what's the fucking?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
What else is on our list?
Jimmy Bufffett, any thoughts about him dying? That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks.
Cheeseburger in paradise?
Yeah, everyone dies.
Oh,
So,
hey, here's a
that's
funny
true.
gym story. I'm going to tie the two together. The first time I ever went to a Globo gym, there was a guy who had a CD player in his pocket. So he didn't even have like an iPod. CD player in his pocket. By the way, I didn't go to the gym for the first time until like 10 years ago.
Okay, I wanted to know when that was because
Yeah,
I
it
was
wasn't
like,
back in the day. No,
okay,
no.
yeah.
This was well past.
This is
you
when
should
there
have
was
had
iPhones and
Yes. He had a
iPads.
CD player in his pocket, and he's pumping iron. He's doing like curls and shoulder work and stuff. But the whole time he's been singing out loud. Just an old white dude just singing out loud as he's pumping, right? And then eventually he gets to where he's pumping, like doing hammer curls, and he's like, cheeseburger and paradise. And I was like, it scared me
That's
away from the
awesome.
gym, never came back.
Good
Hold
for
on.
him.
That's how I found CrossFit.
Yeah, this just popped into my head. Did you? Oh, you found a Globo gym first or CrossFit?
No,
first?
I had found CrossFit first, but I had popped into a Globo gym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Safer. It's safer than going to the CrossFit gym for the first couple weeks.
Yeah.
No, before I did CrossFit, I jogged in the neighborhood.
Okay.
With your Crocs?
Yeah, I got to question this. I feel like people don't know about Chris that he has actually, you have a degree in exercise science.
That's correct.
Yeah. And
What do you want to know about the Krebs cycle?
yeah.
2 pyruvates,
Yeah.
1 acetylcoenzyme A,
And we've all seen CrossFit at
glute
the
floor
highest
transport.
level. You have a beginner, literally never worked out, but they want to be a competitive CrossFitter. What's the smartest way to get them started? Like
Is
literally,
this an actual question?
yeah. Yeah.
A
Like, do
beginner?
you think bodybuilding and like getting on a rower and learning the skills would be better?
How
than
old
They
are
want to
they?
do
How old are
CrossFit.
they?
Yes. Yeah. Like
How old
they're-
are they?
Let's say 30.
30?
Yeah. Like, or like in your, were you mid 20s?
I was like 22, 23.
with no background in fitness,
No back- I
no
hadn't done
running,
shit. All
no
I-
nothing.
Unless you count holding a guitar.
Because like in a CrossFit model, in a box, you would walk in and you just like do the classes and you do them scaled.
Right.
And there are some people with those success stories that went from that to like freaking top level.
Right.
But I think from a statistical standpoint, if I got to choose and had 100 people, I might do it differently. So I just like wanted to throw the question out. Like, do you think that bodybuilding and basic strength and conditioning for like a couple years before messing with high level skills would be better, or you start with like scaling and adaptation and play the sport earlier?
I definitely would do the strength and conditioning route, but I think to get someone to buy in, you'd have to give them doses of the skills.
Yeah.
Like you see that person doing ring muscle ups, we're going to do something a little bit different
like
to help
swings
you.
or
Yeah, like
something like that.
the
Are
basics
we under
to
the
get them
assumption
excited.
that they're already bought in, though?
Well, that's true. We've had this conversation a lot. Like the person that always says like I want to make X, Y, or Z,
Yeah.
but they're not willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
That person's not bought in, right?
Well, that's the funny thing. And this is kind of what Brandon, I think, might be alluding to. This is a side conversation we've had, which is like everybody, when they get into a hobby, you want to be better. Even me, who I don't have any goals and I don't really care to be better. If I could be better
At anything?
with a snap of a finger. Hold on. But
I don't want to be better.
hold on. I'm making a point.
I got it.
I don't like care to be better.
Yeah.
But if I could snap my fingers and be better, hell yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people come into the sport and they say they want to be better, and this goes for anything, not just
Yeah.
CrossFit. They say they want to be better at whatever it might be, but their actions don't say that.
Yeah.
And so they're paying lip service to you as like a coach saying, here's what I want. And you're supposed to then turn around and help them get what they want. But their actions are showing that they don't fucking want it.
Yeah.
And then that the thing that they might actually need as a result of their actions not following what they say might be just giving them the more fun thing that's a little dumbed down. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
then you're just
Well-
in a weird circle of like, you're saying you want this shit that you're not going to do. So I got to
Yeah.
keep feeding you back to this
Yeah.
fun thing that
Yeah.
you will do. And
Yeah.
That's what I mean, where you have to give them a little bit of the sugar still.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going to cut some of that out, but you got to give them enough to come back. You're giving the dog the bone.
Yeah, but people don't really know if they say I want to be a CrossFit Games athlete, they don't really know what that means. Right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
at first,
Well,
if they're a beginner.
Not if you're 30
you'd be
and just coming into the
I'd be
gym.
like, if I could get through and be like, you're going to do everything I say for the next 3 years, we're not going to do anything that looks like what you're seeing in here. But when we start doing that in 3 years, you're going to learn everything way faster. If you could get
That's
buy-in.
a lot of buy-in.
Yeah,
That's
I
a lot of
know,
buy-in.
yeah. They would never do it, and my experiment would fail. But I think that would be my idealistic scenario.
You're 2 years in the experiment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They'd get into this and be like, I just want to be a bodybuilder. Now I'm really good at that.
that's why the sport and the goal of original CrossFit are so weird, because it's almost like the death of to a degree, the death of the original goal of CrossFit,
Yeah.
the HQ, not the sport.
Yeah.
when people start then wanting to become competitive, it like kills that.
Yeah. Well, that's what
They're so at odds, but it's so weird that this world mixes.
I know.
And I get that there is some carryover.
No,
so
but
I'm
there's not
saying
that much carryover.
But because here's what happens. They get all invested, and then next thing you know, now that they're isolated by themselves and they're not in the classes anymore, and then they lose interest, and it's just a weird little cycle that happens.
That is true.
Yeah. The methodology of being a competitor. You know what's funny is games athletes, like the two extremes, like games athletes actually do get way more of the like CrossFit methodology. Like they're running, they're swimming, they're biking outside, they're doing obstacle courses. They're not like regularly learning and playing new sports, but they're regularly learning new skills.
Yeah.
But the in the box people, it's like, oh, your training in a lot of ways has been 30 movements all the time. And we work on that with our affiliate program and have to figure out how to navigate. Well, we want to give them variance and we want to give them new movements, but we also know that we got to give them the sugar, right? Like we got to give them the Metcon.
And there's limitations to what equipment you have.
Exactly.
And space.
For sure. So it's a tough challenge. I do think though, this is something that I will be an advocate for the method, not for the methodology, for the ideology of CrossFit, that it is the best if put with proper progressions and a well-balanced approach to it, it is the best single general fitness program that you could have if you just had to pick one. Like if you had to compare CrossFit to powerlifting, to jogging, to bodybuilding, if you did it intelligently, I think from a statistical perspective, and after just reading Peter Attia's book where they
just
go
for
through,
training and exercise,
just for
and
training
health.
and
Not
exercise,
for the sport.
not for the
competing.
sport, you're not competing. You're just trying to get broad general fitness. You're trying to build your VO2 max. You're trying to build your strength. You're trying to do it through a lot of different skills. If you can build a structure for that, I think from a longevity perspective, it is the best thing that's out there for that. But when people actually apply it, they're not applying it that way.
So what would you say about CrossFit.com's daily workout? If that was what you followed for, and this is, again, not hating on it. I'm just saying that's not the structure
the goal of that is.
I don't know the goal, and I haven't
But isn't that the CrossFit methodology?
Oh.
That's what that is where I always have the hiccup.
You're saying like CrossFit.com is CrossFit.
That's my understanding, but I could be off on that.
Well, I know right now they're going through 2-week rotations or something like that.
Yeah, Dave Castro.
So I don't know if they would. Here's what I'd be curious to ask them is this kind of like a sample taste of like, here's what this could be, and this isn't intended to be your follow. Like, it's not intended for someone to follow year round, even though they could. Yeah. Is that the intention is what I'm curious
But they've been doing it for 15 years now.
So I would say that .com is actually closer than the affiliates in terms of touching them. So their methodology is basically the energy system model,
right?
The Hopper model of doing anything, and then the 10 general skills. So like if you just say those three things are the ideology, the methodology, if it is CrossFit.com, is probably closer to that than most affiliates. Because most affiliates, like if you look at some of the .com, there's like more swimming in there. There's like go run a 5K, go bike a 5K. There's days where it's just strength work. I think it would give you lowered overall fitness than the affiliate because some of the days are super short and you're not doing a lot of stuff. But I think from if you're looking to check a box and do something training wise and you did .com, it's actually probably closer to that ideology than most programs in the box. Because in the box, you're doing a weightlifting progression and you're doing, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I guess the pushback would be, you said it's the best compared to all the other ones. CrossFit.
Yeah.
But within that, the confines of CrossFit.com, I think I would disagree with you.
Oh, yes. Okay. I take that statement back. CrossFit.com would not be the best. I think if you could.
Yeah, but like none of the other things he mentioned have a version of that. There's not like a powerlifting.com workout of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be a site that does.
You could be like 5-3-1.
It's not representing the whole.
But the concepts behind doing a lot of different things across broad time and modal domains is the best.
Yeah.
The way that
it
they
attacks the psychology of like not getting bored and all that kind of stuff.
Totally.
You know what's funny about this conversation we're having is, and I said this to you, I think, Max, which is we make all this fuss about the sport and how we want it professionalized. And so if you only heard training think tank people talk, and that's mostly what we talk about is the sport usually, you would think, man, they don't really care about the actual OG methodology, and they just want the sport to be professionalized. But really, at least I'll speak personally for me, like if it came down to it, I actually am more of a fanboy for the OG CrossFit methodology than how much I care about the sports side of things.
Same.
I am too. It's just that my gripe
you would
has
leave
always
this
been
podcast thinking the other way.
Yeah.
Most people would probably not thought I said that.
Oh.
Well, the thing is, go finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I did not mean for it to come off that way. My thought process is that the methodology is great. The implementation of that methodology has always been poor on CrossFit side.
Or is there a good way to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he talked about this. You still have to have a ton of structure in your training. It's just that you can still have all that variance that they want, across broad time and modal domains again, but you're still getting all those skills. You're getting outside of the gym. You could do that in a 60-minute window every day.
But you're talking about .com, so is there a way that HQ could run .com in a way that would satisfy you, or is that just a
task
that's just too – how?
Well, I think it would be super challenging. I'll let you talk, but I think – well, you want to finish? Or
No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I said let you talk, and you said okay and leave.
Poop on me.
No. I was just saying if they're going to do it, I think they would need to do it locally. Because, like, if you were in Iceland and .com is in California and it's run outside in a 5K, and Iceland, it's the winter, that I think
makes it hard. Yeah.
You'd have to be aware of the culture. Like if you're in a wintry place, maybe the winter workouts are cross country skiing and.
But I mean, wouldn't you then say that part of the methodology is like knowing when to pivot? Isn't that built into it? Like scaling and modifications. Yeah.
I think to do it well, you have to be very advanced and you have to know yourself. Like, I think I train according to their overarching concepts. Like, I'm always trying to learn new skills. But the problem is relative to people, like I've been taking table tennis lessons 2 hours a week for the last 6 weeks. And like, I'm getting pretty good as a recreational table tennis player, but there's 10-year-old kids that will slaughter me and beat me 11-0, 11-0, 11-0 if we played 3 games back to back. So it's not marketable to be like, I'm kind of good at everything. You want to be a specialized expert for like marketability. And also for me, I've learned like, well, these are the things I like doing. This is how I stay engaged. Ball sport games, hand-eye coordination, like it helps me with my mental focus, my mental acuity. It takes me out of thinking about the discomfort. So like I could be on my feet, jumping back and forth, playing table tennis for 2 hours, not think about being tired. But if you told me to go do a jog for 2 hours, inside my head, it'd be like, oh my God.
What's your point with that? And I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying it takes a long time to cultivate how each person would train according to CrossFit for them.
Yes.
Like yours is different than mine, is different than his. Because we're all different in how we like think about things, that's our cool time, our
concept
engagement.
That you're bringing up. One thing that I've thought about a lot is like how, we're a coaching organization, right? And it's very good to have a coach and someone to guide you. That's like, I mean, especially if you have a
very
end goal, like, super helpful. But I think something that people miss out is just play. And I don't mean like playing sports necessarily. I just mean playing within their hobby. Yeah. Like going in and just think about people before training, even just take bodybuilding or powerlifting. Before like, there was a barbell or anything like that, people would just go out and they would just play. There wasn't like they didn't know about 5x5 and like they invented those methods because people just played. Yeah. I don't think enough people play. And what happens, the whole reason I bring that up is when you play in your little sandbox, you start learning about yourself to your point, and then you can better. Yeah. So it's like it's a double-edged sword having the help, but then also never really takes a really in tune athlete to pay attention and to themselves. Yeah. And that's why they do the video review. Yeah. And
so but basically the conclusion of that is I don't think you can mass produce a CrossFit training program for the masses. I think Do
you think that they would say you could?
Like that.
Or they would agree with like, any task you take on, it's going to take a learning curve.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't had any good, productive, close, intimate talks about training theory with anybody that is employed by the HQ educational team. I wish I could have. I just never have. The weird thing
is at the end of the day, they're a business, and it's not just like basketball.
Yeah. Like, what did you say?
No, I would disagree. I think that you could. It just may not be always play. So like you got to find that balance of like there should be days where it is just like a fun play, like enjoy it, do
the
something.
thing I asked you was, could you write .com in a way that would satisfy you? So what would that look like?
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Brannen talk because I gotta pee.
All right, break.
I said yes, and then I started thinking about it, and it may go against their methodology. So maybe not. Maybe you can't. But the way that it's written now, let's just say, like for people, everyone's listened has seen this, right? Like one day may just be snatch 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. And then you don't see snatches again for 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is. Like there's this gap.
You mean snatches in that setting?
In that setting, yeah, where it's just by itself.
It might be in a barbell cycling metcon later. But
if you really wanted someone to develop and get better at any skill, they probably need to see more touches. And then
you don't think that they would say and agree with that?
But it's not in the program. So it would be like me telling everyone in Compete, like, we're going to get you guys better at ring muscle-ups this cycle, and then only programming twice in an 8-week cycle. Like that's basically false marketing on my point, and no one's going to get better at ring muscle-ups. The best way to do that would be to have like a legitimate program, which we do. Like every Monday they're doing ring muscle-ups this cycle, or every Wednesday, whatever it is, and they're practicing those skills. And then we have like tangible work that they can do each week and a test and retest to see how much better they've gotten at that skill. For the beginner, it's different though, right? It's not ring muscle-ups.
So right now, are you thinking about the competitor in your head, or are you thinking about just general fitness people?
General fitness, even if you said you wanted to come in, you wanted to
Does a general fitness person need to snatch?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So but that's part of their skill. So you would still see it. But the idea behind that would be, let's teach someone if snatch is going to be there, let's also help them learn how to snatch and not just program snatch. Or on days where there are something that's our ring muscle-ups, bar muscle-ups, things that are higher skilled, instead of it just being a scaling option where it's like 3 ring dips and 3 ring pull-ups, let's actually give them an opportunity. And maybe people don't follow it. Maybe this is Max's point, but if you want to learn how to do ring muscle-ups, here's a 12-minute play session where you can learn ring swings, and then you can learn how to kip, and then you can learn how to turn over, so that people have that opportunity. I'm always thinking of it as...
I would guess that they would answer that with something. They would say, well, that's why we have the blah, blah, blah. You know?
They would definitely have a rebuttal.
Yeah.
Right, but my point is again, it's not in the program. So like I could tell you I'm going to get you better at ring muscle-ups, but if I don't program any skills for ring muscle-ups, I'm lying to you. So I guess that would be the issue.
You're saying like if, like, for example, ring muscle-ups is in a workout on main site, 21-15-9. I didn't hear the first part.
Well, let's take the Dave workout from a couple weeks ago.
10 rounds for time, 200-meter run, 3 ring muscle-ups. And the modified version of that was 10 rounds for time, 200-meter run. And I believe you could tell me, I think you did the workout, didn't you?
No, I didn't do that one.
Oh, I think it was 3 strict pull-ups and 3 ring dips
or
something like that.
But what if you couldn't do ring pull-ups?
Yeah, I'll pull it up exactly.
Ring rows. There are like some...
There's tiers. Basically.
And I think that's awesome. Again, if someone just wants to come in and play, this is not me knocking it. I'm just thinking if you really wanted someone to improve on their fitness, which is kind of the long, like forging elite fitness is the tagline. Yeah. We would want to help them learn how to control their body in space, on rings, with basic drills. And that could just be a play session. But you could fit all that into a 60-minute session.
For that workout, it would be, so the original workout, 10 rounds for time of 200-meter run and 3 ring muscle-ups.
Which, by the way, that sounds awesome. Like that seems like such a fun workout to do.
But it's, I mean, that workout is how many people in the world who are even pretty fit can even do it. How many people
here's
can
the
do
intermediate option, 10 rounds for time, 200-meter run, 2 ring muscle-ups. So you just get rid of one. And then the beginner option, 5 rounds for time, 200-meter run, and then 3 sets of 3 ring rows plus 3 jumping ring dips.
I'd say that's probably doable by a lot of people.
Yeah, that would be the one that's
really
doable.
Build you fitness.
That's what I mean. Is if the goal is to build, but isn't that CrossFit's goal? We're trying. We're not just getting you in the gym. The way that we talk about this is like the 60-year-old can come in, and we do have a scaling option, but it's not just holding water jugs. It's going to get you from water jugs to a barbell.
But if part of that equation is like looking at it and being like, damn, that's badass. That looks fun. That's getting me interested in fitness.
I understand that.
And you feel like you're doing the same thing as other
psychological thing, because not every day could be the thing. Sometimes you got to have your sugar, and that might be the thing that would be like, okay, now I'm interested, and now it sold me on the ring muscle up, and now I'm curious, and maybe I'll go investigate. I always said this back in the day about people would make fun of muscle and fitness magazines and stuff, but it's like, yeah, those might not be the greatest workouts, but think of how much actual help they're doing, because they're the entry point for a lot of people to get curious, to ask better questions.
Totally.
I do.
So maybe that's all this is. I don't know.
It's like the gateway.
I'm with you there.
Yeah, I know you are.
I think that's a good buy-in. Yeah. I want to always see people improve, and that maybe that's the coach's mind in me. I don't know.
I mean, program is essentially, especially the fitness path with all of the different things, is our attempt at trying to give people the variation to build their own structures that make sense for the definition of CrossFit. If it's competitive in compete, and for fitness, if it's like broad and well-rounded. You have strength options and you have movement options, and it's just very hard to do that. That's kind of why I said it's individualized. It's like, where are you in your fitness level? How good are you? Where do you want to get to? If you're just trying to, like, some people's goal with fitness is just to stay moving. They're like, I just want to do 5 workouts a week, right? Like, that's literally the barrier. The idea of progressing is, it's not on their in their mind.
How about come January, we switch our training plan. All we do is .com. Ooh. For a whole year.
And we sell it?
.com for a year.
We'll get .com. Or we just change one word.
You know what's funny?
Like, it's 200-meter run, and we're like 202-meter jog.
I thought about it'd be cool to, like, dig up old school workouts, like, to go find the original OPT blog. Is that out somewhere?
Maybe.
Because I remember way back in like 2012, I jumped in on some OPT workouts with McGee.
Yeah.
And, like, only a handful of them, but they all smoked me, and it was terrible. But it'd be fun to go back, or it'd be fun to do like the 2008 games one day.
Oh yeah, it would be fun.
We actually have a list. We have a spreadsheet that we use for our online programs where it's like there's probably 500 workouts in there that are old tests, and we still will utilize those and put them back into the program as benchmarks. So, and like, that's the awesome thing about CrossFit with all the benchmarks they have, even the basic ones. Like, they did Helen, and they made it Helena at the games, and that was really cool to watch.
It'd be cool. I think some of them are outdated now. Like Grace, like, I mean, at the highest level, they're all doing 30 unbroken, and it's just going to be like who's shorter and who can move it a little bit faster and how close can you ride the line. It'd be nice if we had like a whole series of benchmarks evolving with the sport.
They could tweak all of those, though. Even if you added load to that.
Yeah,
like,
165.
It would change it.
Yeah. I mean, they've kind of done that with heavy DT.
Right.
But it'd be nice if we benchmarked and kept data on all of them.
Yeah.
Hold on, you mean making new ones? Is that what you said?
Either making new ones or just making them relevant. Like, some of the tests now, they just like, they're not good enough as separator tests, so you can't really put them in
sport.
For the sport. Yes, for the sport.
Man, I don't know.
I was back into the problem.
We did Fight Gone Bad yesterday. Chris and I did. We already talked about this, but I was thinking in the middle of that, this would be fun to watch the best guys and girls do, because that one, there would be separation. You would have to go so hard the entire time.
And that third round would be carnage if it was in a real competitive situation.
Keep it at the same weight.
Can we do
the same
that
height.
here? Can we do like a find a charity, and whoever wins
gets up into a fight?
We're gonna have to make it. We're gonna have to make it for not charity, so people actually
money.
go hard.
Yeah.
When you start getting the pain cave, you're like,
I'm gonna back off.
It's just for the kids.
Yeah, it's just for the kids. I got bills to pay.
That's messed up. All right, I gotta dip out of here, gentlemen.
Real quick, so Caden won the pit teen throwdown. Congrats to him.
Yeah, I wore this shirt in support for him.
Yeah. Anything you wanted to say on that?
Learn how to smile, man. Get on top
better.
of that podium. Smile.
He won it, though. He won. Did he win by
He
a lot?
won, and he also would have won in the 18 to 22 division. And he's going into the elite division this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Bosman was at that competition?
Yeah.
So
I think there's possibility that maybe is part of the infrastructure of the sport moving forward.
Nice.
So
Shinqui.
I actually wanted to talk about that. Maybe next podcast.
Okay.
Changes in the sport. What's going to happen? Your predictions.
Yeah.
See, Brandon's ruck prep we didn't get to, but that will be in the ruck video. Or we're going to have the road
Did you
ruck.
win?
Yeah.
Okay.
The competition wasn't very
Yeah, I wasn't. Kyle Ruth, Brandon, and DNF.
That's not true. It's not true, because me and Brandon did different workouts.
Oh.
That is true. He did it in his Crocs.
I did it in Crocs, not RX Plus.
That's
so you won the RX Plus.
Yeah, won the RX minus.
He had rocks in his shoes. He's bleeding on the bottom of his feet.
We talked about Jimmy Bufffett, RIP. Big name athlete reached out to Max for coaching, but you'll never know who it is because we didn't get there. Oh, that's pretty cool, though.
Next
Right?
episode.
Yeah, we weren't going to talk about who it was anyway.
Let's see. Morning Chalk Up Sweet Ass resource page. Yeah, we didn't have a lot to say there, but me and Max, right before we started, found out that if you go to morningchalkup.com and you click, they have a CrossFit Games schedule section, and it's literally the whole year's schedule of everything.
Oh, man.
That comes
I had
up.
no clue.
I'm like,
That's what he told me, and I was like, we should definitely talk about that.
And it's all linked out, so it's like, it's Madrid link. Rogue link. It's like, this
Yeah.
is the best thing. Like,
That makes searching
if
a lot
that's
easier.
all morning
I put
chalk
them
up
all into a
was-
spreadsheet. It's a pain. Yeah.
Dude, same. And the last thing was meal prep, and we were just going to bitch about how meal prep can be a bitch. So there you go.
Yeah.
Are you meal prepping or
I've
those?
been
That's all the
buying-
time we
You're
have.
buying- okay, you're buying those meals.
Yeah, I'm buying those
Yeah.
meals.
I want to do
Well,
that. It's just so expensive.
I know.
That's the thing that sucks about that. Okay, sorry, Chris.
But I already
No,
told you
no, you're
why I lose money on meal prepping,
You're right.
even if it
You're
seems like I'm saving
Dude,
money.
every time I throw out some food, I'm just like, oh.
That's what I just
I
told
can't
him.
do it.
I should have just went to Arby's
Yeah.
all week.
cheaper.
They got the
Arby's
meats.
is amazing. I think they're the best fast food, by the way.
I love it.
Dun, dun,
So
dun,
good.
dun. Let's go. Let's go now.
And their Arby's sauce is amazing.
Oh,
what's
the
that?
Arby's sauce? Hit me with it,
It's,
bro.
what's
I
in
don't
the
know, but
Arby's
you put
sauce?
on that roast beef sandwich,
Oh,
girl.
yeah. Do
I
you like
get
it with
the
the cheddar or
gyro.
no cheddar?
I don't ever get it with the cheddar.
Cheddar.
I only
good.
get the gyro or gyro.
That's also good.
You know what I get?
the
I get
turkey
that-
and Swiss is amazing
You
too.
can get a half pound of, or like a whole pound of like Arby's roast
beef.
All right, that's all the time we got.
See you
All right,
guys.
later.
I really do love Arby's. It's
So do
by
I.
far my favorite.
So good. There's one right by my house on the way home that sometimes I stop to
The gyro, or however you say it, the only problem, the last 2 times I've got it, they put so much sauce on the bottom of it that I had to like take everything out and wipe it off. Do you get it with sauce on it?
Yeah, but it wasn't like
Oh, man.
a lot.
I
I mean,
I
I
couldn't
feel
eat it.
like the oil mixes with that
You know
stuff
what I'm
and drips out. Yeah, you could probably
Yeah,
do it on the
that's what
side.
I'd have to do.